Hey there everyone, my name is Jakejames Lugo, and welcome to the channel, where you'll find some of the most fair and honest game reviews out here. And it's finally time, people, to talk about God of War Ragnarök for the PlayStation 5. You all out there know I like a good God of War game, and I've been ecstatic to talk about this on the PS5 for quite some time. So what's the deal? Is it good or bad? Is it one of the best games of the year, or is it absolute trash? Let's talk about it finally. God of War Ragnarök is the sequel to God of War, the fourth mainline entry of the series. We once again find ourselves following Kratos and his son Atreus, as they evade the watchful eye of the Asgardian gods. The plot of Ragnarök takes place immediately after the events of the previous game, with Kratos and Atreus coming face to face with Thor and Odin. Right at the start, the game hits the ground running by taking us even deeper into the Nine Realms. Without spoiling too much, Kratos and Atreus have to face a looming prophecy that awaits them both, bringing about the start of Ragnarök and the end of Asgard under Odin's rule. It's a complex and heartfelt tale of a father and his son facing the harsh realities of destiny, along with a very intriguing coming-of-age story for Atreus. Not gonna lie, I was so engaged with how the Norse mythology is brought into this story, with newer characters and parts of Norse legends we finally see in their full form. We even get some insight into Kratos' wife before giving birth to Atreus and the events that led up to the first game. It's an incredibly cool experience that is presented in a very polished way, while still feeling as epic as you would expect for a God of War game to be.
Well, what in all yarns me that happened to him? He's too damn tall now. And he looks like that. I blame you.
So the cool thing about this game being a sequel to a reboot of this series is that a lot of the stuff that was hyped up in the previous game finally gets a really cool and really interesting payoff in Ragnarök. For example, at the very end of the last game, we got hyped up at the prospect of meeting Thor and some of the other Asgardian gods, a little bit different than what we were introduced to before with Baldur and a few others. But this time, not only do we get to go to all 9 realms, but we get to see some of these other gods from Norse mythology that were so hyped up that have such a big part to play, not only with Ragnarök, but just with Norse mythology in general. I mean, everything just comes together so nicely in a way that just is awesome. It's purely epic in the way that God of War definitely should be. But at the heart of this entire thing, with all this other crazy stuff going on, is the story and the core tale about a father and his son, which is Kratos and Atreus. These moments where we get to see Kratos and Atreus get separated, and we see like this coming of age story for Atreus or Loki when he goes interacts with Asgard and all these other people, this is some really good stuff. Granted, it doesn't beat you over the head with it like many other games would probably do. It does it in a way that complements everything else. It still gives you the action, it still gives you the really big epicness of this story, but it gives you something with even more heartfelt like weight to it. And I love that. I think everything just works so good together. I also feel like if you're a parent that plays video games, especially if you play video games with your children, a lot of this stuff that we're seeing Kratos go through, or at least see him face and how he reacts to it, you're probably going to face at some point within your life. So there's a lot of really interesting stuff there that many other people, especially if you have kids, are probably going to relate to. And even then, as someone who doesn't have children, I see this stuff, I see the emotional pain that Kratos goes through, or the emotional weight he has to carry, on top of dealing with the stuff that his son is going to have to face within the crazier, much more harsher world. There's some really amazing stuff here, and I feel like as for a story, again, within a video game, this is awesome. This is stuff that you love to see within a AAA release. So with all that being said, let's get into the gameplay, because there is a lot happening here that if you're a fan of the previous God of War game, you're going to be very pleased with what they do in this one. While there are some new things in God of War Ragnarök, the core of the gameplay is very much the same as its predecessor. You get to control more than just Kratos this time. In some sections, you take control of Atreus and fight battles alone, as well as explore different realms. It's a great way to follow up what was good about the previous game, but take things even further. Kratos is still a powerhouse like before, but Atreus is nimble and fast, and the two of them complement each other very nicely. When they are together, the action is amazing, but when the two of them are separated, the story gets even more intriguing. I won't spoil any more beyond this, but there are a few unexpected surprises with who you get to battle with. Some people might not like seeing Kratos and Atreus become separated, but it really is a clever thing that works to the game's advantage, building up the world and showcasing how much these characters have evolved. But what about the exploration and the combat? This time, you get to visit all 9 realms and explore them, which is very cool and a big step up from before. Getting to see Asgard finally after hyping it up for so long is pretty awesome, but the payoff of what happens there is what makes it all worth it. The other realms are just as interesting too. Places you revisit from the first game have new things to discover, while new realms are fresh and offer new challenges to overcome. So what about the combat? Battling groups of enemies and giant foes is action-packed like before, though I'll admit, some fights can be a little tedious, especially with some side quests and optional battles that you encounter along the way. You can always return to them later on after finding new equipment and gaining some better stats. Finishing the main quest line is highly recommended before diving into any of the optional quests, because many of those monsters that you find are vicious and borderline unfair if you go in underprepared. So like before, you get different equipment and you also grow levels as Kratos and Atreus and many of the other characters you come across throughout the entirety of the game. I feel like it's still pretty straightforward like it was in the previous game. However, it does get a little bit annoying when you're trying to level up some of your equipment, when you're trying to gather different materials or certain like items that you need to get in order to upgrade this stuff, including the axe, including the blades of chaos, a lot of the armor that Kratos and Atreus can wear, including his bow as well. Some of that could get a little bit annoying, especially when you're not doing a lot of the side quests where most of those materials and most of those key items come into play. I will admit though that if you do end up doing even some of the side quests while you're doing the main quest line, a lot of that stuff definitely helps out with some of the more challenging sections of the game, including some other side quests, because I do feel like some of the enemies and the monsters you run into could be a little bit overpowered, but once you have like different equipment upgrades, once you power up both the actual axe and the blades of chaos where you have more moves available to you, a lot of those challenges and a lot of those difficult moments could really be dealt with in clever and interesting ways, on top of all the other extra stuff that you could come across, which really powers up Kratos. Kratos is a powerhouse in this game, and Atreus too. Atreus could hold his own. I feel like he's the more interesting and clever of the two when it comes to gameplay, because not only do you have the melee combat, you have much more better projectile combat, because Atreus could fire his bow, he could shoot different types of arrows with different spells to them that affect enemies in a variety of different ways, not just regular small fry, but some of the big baddies as well. I like that because it offers different flavors of a core gameplay mechanic that I feel like is already solid from what we had in the first God of War game, or at least God of War 4, but with here, it works out so good. Now, as far as extra weapons are concerned, when we're talking specifically about Kratos, he does get a couple extra weapons in his arsenal, including a spear, and also a really powerful sword that you have to do a bunch of side quests to really get it powered up and get all these other little extra things. But even if you don't do that, if you just stick with the blades of chaos, the axe that we've come to know, and also this spear that he ends up getting at some point, I feel like you'll be more than well equipped to deal with everything that the game throws at you. It's not to the point where you have to do all this stuff in order to progress forward. It doesn't pigeonhole you into certain things, but it does give you enough tools to approach the challenges and approach all the crazy moments the way you want to. So I appreciate that as a player, as a fan of God of War. I think that's awesome. So when you get right down to it, is this a great sequel to a fantastic series reboot? Can I recommend that you play God of War Ragnarök on the PlayStation 5? Yes, definitely get this when you can, because God of War Ragnarök is awesome. It has a fantastic story, very solid combat, and lots of great exploration for those who want to see everything this game has to offer. The next chapter of Kratos' tale is as interesting and as epic as the mythology it takes place in. Anyone with a PlayStation 5 will definitely want this in their collection. And there you go, everyone. Those are my thoughts about God of War Ragnarök. This game kicks ass. It's so good. If you have a PS5, you need to own this. If you haven't played the original God of War, the one prior to this one, which is God of War 4, I highly suggest that you do so to get the most out of this game's story. You don't necessarily need to play that game to understand what's going on here. The game, I think, does a really good job of recapping everything for you right at the start when you first boot it up. You can watch like this little kind of like previously on God of War type of thing, which is cool. You don't necessarily need that, but if you want the most, if you want to see everything and get the full effect of it, play that first game, then come get this and play it. It is so good. One of the best games on PlayStation 5 by far. But of course, as always, with any game that I review on this channel, that's just my opinion about God of War Ragnarök. Let me know some of your thoughts about this game down below in the comment section. Tell me, are you a big God of War fan? Did you get Ragnarök and enjoy it? What are some of the other things you want to see with the God of War series? What direction do you want them to go in next? Do you want to go to Egyptian mythology or any other sort of like mythology that could come into play? Because the Norse saga for this is like coming to an end in some form. Like they still got more stuff to do. Again, without spoilers, there's still more things to happen, but the possibilities with this series are endless. Let me know about that stuff down below in the comment section, and I will talk to all of you again very soon. Thanks for watching the video, everyone. I appreciate your support, and I hope you enjoyed checking it out. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and don't forget to leave me a like on this video and post a comment down below too. It helps out the channel a ton. You could also join my Discord server via the link in the description box to come be part of the community we have there. Whether you agree or disagree with me, come chat about games with everybody in there. It's a lot of fun people that I know you'll get a kick out of. Hope to see you again soon. Peace out, and stay epic, everybody.